I think that, helping those students become familiar with success by really defining what success can look like for them and helping them to sort of discover that is really important for getting them hooked to the sport and for them, having a positive overall experience. My name is Matt Stenovec. I've been on the Disc Northwest board for probably about 8 years at this point. I think I'm in the middle of my 3rd term. I've been playing Ultimate Frisbee on and off since probably like my senior year of college. I really got interested in playing when I moved to Honolulu in 2009 and played with some teams with Hawaii Ultimate, and then we relocated to Montana after that, and I played out there for a little while where I feel like I really learned how to play the game. And then came to Seattle in, I think, 2010 or 2011, and just jumped right into the league scene here. And into coaching. I've been coaching middle school for about the last 10 years, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teams. And that's been my main contact with Disc Northwest, especially most recently outside of board work, has been as a coach. I have 3 daughters of my own here in Seattle, and when we started having kids, that definitely slowed down a lot of my playing and moved me more into sort of the coaching and board member roles. I've been working in schools for my entire professional life. I started out as a classroom teacher, and now I'm the director of admissions at Seattle Country Day School here in Seattle. And I think that school connection has really kept me plugged into the youth scene with Ultimate Frisbee here. And has also been, as an educator, my primary lens with approaching Disc Northwest and the board work at Disc Northwest. I've always sort of had kind of the coaches or teachers mindset with a lot of the things that I've approached. I've never, when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to get into education. I knew I wanted to be an educator, but I didn't know what discipline I wanted to work in. And then when I got into college, I ended up sort of by accident becoming an environmental studies and writing major, just because those were the classes that I wanted to take. But when I was in high school, I never was the strongest writer. And I don't think I ever was the strongest writer when I was in college either, but it just was something that was deeply interesting to me. And I think that's translated well into becoming an English teacher, which I was for a long time, in that when I see kids who are struggling, when I see kids who don't know necessarily what to do next or how to improve or where to go, or are feeling dissatisfied with their writing or dissatisfied with their play, I know because I've been there in a really significant way, both with sports and academics. So I can really jump down into the bottom of the hole with them, tell them I've been there before and help them dig their way out.
I think that's something interesting about what a lot of the Disc Northwest programming is kind of centered around, which is capacity building and fostering a community of learning. I think I'm seeing that in a lot of the conversations that I was having around the Winter Wonder League, where you have active club players who are playing at the national level, or even the regional level, coming to local leagues and teaching newer players. I think almost 50%, it was about a 50% split between players who had never played club and players who had some amount of significant club experience. And then 40% of the players from Winter Wonder League were first year, had never played in a league before. And yeah, a lot of the feedback that we got is just that they felt supported in learning, even though it's completely learning a new sport as an adult is kind of tricky and can be really intimidating. So yeah, I think that a lot of the lessons that we get out of approaching community recreational sports with a growth mindset, and with a centering, I guess, bringing new people in.
Yeah, it was interesting. I have the privilege of co-coaching this year with Mary Lowry, and we do a lot of goal setting together as coaches. We do a lot of discussing about what do we want to accomplish, and our main goal with our 6th grade team is each game to make sure that one or two of the brand new players feel successful. You know, that the player who was missing all their catches last week comes in and really gets just a couple of good possessions this week, or the student who's just dipping their toe in for the first time, that they sort of figure out what to do, at least like once on offense and once on defense, you know, over the course of the game. And I think that, you know, helping those students become familiar with success by really defining what success can look like for them and helping them to sort of discover that is really important for getting them hooked to the sport and for them, you know, having a positive overall experience. And I guess that, you know, just playing sports has just been something that I've always just done. And it's always been how I've built community, how I've made new friends when I move somewhere new, how I maintain connections with old friends through traveling to tournaments, or, you know, have the groups of friends who I only see, you know, when we meet up for league, pick up for practice. As an adult, you know, it's been just a great way to have kind of an outlet for, you know, any sort of like competitive urges, but also an outlet for just a more fun way to get outside and to exercise and to be, you know, enjoying the nice weather that we have here. And so, yeah, it's sports to me has always been, I think, primarily about community, primarily about building friendships, primarily about practicing leadership, and that feeling you get when, I think you can only get when you've done something really hard and you were successful at it. I think that that's a very unique sensation that really is only accessible in very few ways, and playing sports with a team is one of those ways. I served as Ann's vice president on the board for several years, and through some pretty monumental growth for the organization, both in players and revenue and full-time employment. You know, really, the time that I've been on the board has been really fun because it's basically seen the organization professionalize in so many ways. We've continued to grow, and so direction setting for what's next. So what's next is a new strategic plan. What's next is continuing to look for new and interesting ways of acting with our new mission statement that we came up with, that the community came up with last year. You know, it's really feeling like the sky's the limit in a lot of ways as to what Dis Northwest can achieve. And, you know, that's a little scary in that, you know, we really want to make sure that there's not too much mission creep, that we're not trying to do everything all the time. But it is exciting in that we, you know, all the folks who are involved in Dis Northwest, from the board to the staff to the players, are able to have a really strong voice in what direction they want the organization to go in. And, you know, that's always a really positive time for an organization when it can sort of harness the energy from a lot of really creative and dedicated folks to sort of help us define what's next.